Paperbound is trying its best to follow in the footsteps of games like Towerfall Ascension, and attempts to put its own spin on things with a couple of twists in terms of combat and execution for the local multiplayer experience. Before I begin this first impressions, keep in mind that this was done with a key obtained from the developer. In an attempt to become the next party game, it only somewhat hits the mark with being technically sound, but lacks a sense of variety over a period of time, as well as some questionable design decisions at the gameplay level. Some of the extras added can really hinder the overall game experience in what I played, which may not be the same for all who take the controls of the characters in this game. It leads to an experience that will frustrate a couple of players, as some of the ideas that it brings to the table seem really interesting at first, but ultimately I think it hurts the game in the long run. Similar to Towerfall Ascension, Paperbound is a party game in which combatants go after each other in the pages of some of the old classic tales. There are 5 maps to play on, and the combat is relatively simple. You have a forward slash and a projectile and a pair of scissors that you can throw at the enemy. You also have an ink bomb, which is a ranged area of attack that's a bit more close range than the scissors. You could also change gravity, so you could change to one side of the map to the other, and if so, you could sort of float if you keep on hitting it. There are a couple of different modes in the game, but the main one is the first one to X amount of kills win. Well, sort of. I'll get to that in a little bit. There's a couple of other modes as well. Long Live the King, which only the king makes points for staying alive for a period of time, or Survival, which is X number of lives. And technically, the combat works. There's more than meets the eye here, and good reaction time can come into play, as scissors can be reflected back at their throwers, for example. The controls work very well, and playing with a controller worked well for the experience. It did take some getting used to with the default controls at first. I felt like the buttons were like all over the controller as opposed to maybe being all isolated into one section of the controller, but they worked just fine. However, I do wish the controller keys were rebindable, like the keyboard ones were. It's responsive, and make sure it reacts to what you're doing, and the base combat really is fun. Although some things can be done to liven it up over a period of time, with collectibles or power-ups that could spawn in the game. Needless to say, you're only relying on your own skill here, and to that extent, people who like, let's say, Final Destination or Super Smash Bros., Paperbound does the job pretty well. But what about that twist I was talking about? Well, the first person to hit the win condition has a tear in the page open up for them. To win the round, you have to escape through the tear. This gives a panic in the game at that point as other players attempt to stop the winning player from escaping. It creates a tension in the room for sure, but in terms of the game over a long-term solution, I think it causes a bit of a problem. The major problem in my mind is the spawn of the tear, and specifically its location. The tear always spawns a reasonable distance away from the player in the lead. This gives other players ample time to set up a defense, and with the equipment available, it's a lot easier to deny access to an area than to break through it from what I've seen, especially with the ink bomb and the scissors. It definitely doesn't help that the AI also guards it with their life, even though yes, that's an optimal strategy. Now for some, this won't be a problem, but I found it to be a major one, because it set up this 3-on-1 situation with the AI in question. This may change with more human players, but even then I still question that. It is the best strategy there, stop the winner from getting his victory. Yeah, you could screw over other people, but he's gonna win, you have to stop him. They became, and they being the AI, less concerned about killing each other and more focused on me, even stopping right in front of the tear. It made it hard because you only have limited supplies in terms of ranged items, and the thing is, they're the best things in terms of being able to get through an area, being able to throw an ink bomb or a pair of scissors. However, my biggest complaint with that is counteracted by being able to set the options for the match. There's several options you can choose from: frags restoring your ammo, the aforementioned escaping through tears, and etc. I'll give the game credit because of it. You can create the rules how you want and can change things up, and really that gives the player options, which in most cases is rather good. I do think it does take away from the unique aspect of the game, but the thing is, I'm complaining about something that I didn't like and being able to turn it around. That's good in the long run. Let's also talk about the visuals in the playing field. While I get the visual style that they were going for, it's only alright in my eyes. You can see your character with most of the color choices, but I did have trouble on certain levels with the zoomed back camera to really know what's going on. That could be mostly me and my perception of things, so watch a couple of videos to see if you are always seeing what's going on, to see if the game's visual style is right for you. It's nice that they include some other indie game characters as well, although I will say the Monaco characters really stand out compared to the other ones in my experience. In terms of map variety, there are 15 different maps to play on. There are 5 different books with 3 different maps within each book. They keep the variety up in that case, and at first I didn't realize there were 15 different maps. In fact, I only thought there were 5. But the good variety comes from the fact that the maps are designed rather differently. You got your straightforward maps, ones with simple platforms, but then you've got your more difficult maps, ones with, hazards on them, such as the blocks that you are able to smash enemies with, or these rotating platforms. It will keep the variety up for a while, but sooner or later you will keep on playing the same maps over and over again. Look, in the end, Paperbound is competent, and does have a unique feature or two, but the problem I'm having in recommending it overall is that when I look at games that I would compare it to, such as Towerfall Ascension or Grand Class Melee 2, the thing that stands out as its unique feature I think hinders it the most, at least in my experience. If you think you can get over that tear mechanism or it doesn't play that much into your enjoyment of the game, Paperbound will be fun. However, I question its ability to stay as a game you'll want to play long term due to the lack of variety. It's again the kind of game that I picture people who like playing no items on Final Destination would like. It's definitely suited to players who want nothing but skill to rule the battlefield. I probably won't play it again after my initial impressions, but there is a fit for certain gamers out there. It just doesn't fit with me. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have a chance, leave some feedback and comments below. If you liked the video, hit that like button. And if you want more content like this, hit that subscribe button. This is Dragnix signing off, hoping that gaming brings as much fun to you as it does for me.